Welcome, everybody, to the second episode ever of Sales Unscripted. I'm Bryan Neal.
And I'm Margaret Henny.
And we are so glad that you are here. This is episode 2 of our first podcast, second episode.
Part 2.
And we've been, so we recorded first episode about 45 seconds ago, and this is episode 2. We're going to be coming to you every week, so if you're new to this, now you may have heard I've got a podcast called the Advanced Selling Podcast, and you'll find Margaret from her role in co-video all over LinkedIn. Yeah. If you want to know how to do and watch videos, go see Margaret on LinkedIn. And this is a new deal, and we're really excited. This came from our listeners, our people, listeners, not listeners really, but they told us to do this. They told us to do this. So Sales Unscripted, real.
Oh, man. Real people, real talk, real selling.
Real people, real talk, real selling. That is us. We're going to get that eventually. We will have that thing figured out. But we're glad that you're here. We're going to have a little website will be up. We'll probably start a LinkedIn group. And so the listeners will start to trickle in droves.
I hope so.
And next thing you know, we'll sign a contract like Joe Rogan did with Spotify, and we'll go buy an island.
Yes.
We'll go buy an island.
I was just going to say, then we'll record this from somewhere warmer than Indiana.
We will, yes. But isn't it funny how home is home, though?
It totally is.
I mean, you get so, I don't know how I get now, and I just get angry at the cold, like mad. I think I'm more mad at myself for living here or staying here. Yep. And home is home.
Because we technically have the decision, right? Like,
absolutely.
We've got the choice.
Especially now.
Okay, speaking of which, I don't know if you saw this, but so the big NCAA football championship was just here in Indianapolis. So cool. We love to host. It makes us so happy.
We love it.
But there was a guy in Georgia who wrote for a paper. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
And some headline was like, awaiting Georgia and Alabama fans in Indiana, high prices or like expensive city and cold weather or something like that. And I was like, no, wait a second. First of all, expensive, wrong.
No, not expensive.
Cold weather, yes, but it's January.
Yes.
So like, what do you expect? Yeah. And also like, we can talk shit about our city, but nobody else. Like we can be like, it's cold, blah, this sucks. But if somebody else says it, I'm like, listen, here's what's great about Indiana.
Isn't that true? It was a person from Atlanta?
Yes, a person from Atlanta.
Okay, have you been to Atlanta?
I have.
Have you been to Atlanta?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I have been to Atlanta. And by the way, I'm not trying to hate on Atlanta.
No,
Shout out to our friends in Atlanta.
Yes.
It's so busy.
It's so busy.
There's so much traffic.
Oh my gosh.
It's sweltering hot.
Oh my gosh.
And it's expensive.
It is. And it's awesome. And I love Atlanta.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. Great food scene. They got great everything.
Music. Amazing.
Great music. Great people. Everyone's really nice.
Yeah.
It takes you 19 hours to go 6 miles down there.
Totally.
And there's 1 billion people.
Yeah.
And
And this is why, everything exists on a spectrum,
I
right?
know.
There's good and bad, and it, moves back and forth and all that sort of thing. So anyway, but that just really frosted my cookies. I just don't like it when people talk shit about my city.
We are proud. We're very proud people here.
Yes.
Very proud. Not cocky, we're very humble, and we're very proud. And he's in the minority, I'll tell you that. Because I travel around with my football gig, and I go to places, cool places, like, Indianapolis, cool. New York, San Fran, they're like, we had the Super Bowl one year. Everyone's like, that was the greatest Super Bowl ever. Everyone loves our town.
Yeah.
Because it's all centralized. It's very clean and neat downtown. It's actually not expensive.
Not at all.
Yes, it's cold. It's January. Yes, it's cold. And you're in an indoor stadium watching a football game. You can get around our entire downtown in a walkway. So you never have to go outside.
I
probably just didn't know that. So
exactly.
Shout out to Indy, and we love ATL, by the way. I love Atlanta.
Yes, totally.
Anyway, maybe we'll have that guy back, and we'll take him on a little private tour and see if we can change his mind.
Oh my God, show him all the great things about Indianapolis.
We'll have him come up in May, month of May, right? Have him come to the Indy 500. That'd be fun.
May is the best.
You got to find that guy's name, Margaret.
I will. I'll find him.
That'll be fun. Now you were going to say something.
Okay, well we were pulling up the Zoom here, so obviously we're on camera as well as doing all the audio for this.
Yes.
And we looked at your desktop, and I was like, oh my God, Bryan! Like my desktop is a mess. This is like it's almost looks like an abstract piece of art. There's so many documents on this, and like you pulled it up. How many documents is on?
Well, I then pulled up my email to show you.
Right.
So have you seen the show Hoarders?
Absolutely.
Or heard of it? Yeah. So if you haven't seen the show Hoarders, it's a show on, I don't know what is A&E or Biography or one of those.
I don't know.
That it's like a disease people have.
Yes,
it's almost like an addiction. They can't throw
it's
anything away.
It's super sad, but it'll also make you feel a lot better
Totally by
about your
yourself.
messiness.
Isn't that all reality TV
Yeah,
show?
yeah.
I watch this so I don't feel so broken.
Yeah.
But I also don't delete emails. Now I open them and read them
Mm-hmm.
all, but I had, I think, was it 202,000 emails in my
Yes.
inbox? So listen again, 202,000 emails in my inbox. It's my filing system, and I will have a race with anybody. I will race anyone on the planet to find a document. I'll get, and you just put a timer, like you're going to find some document, I'll find mine. You got folders and all this jazz and G drives and all this baloney.
I know.
I got my email. I'll find it.
I am not
promise.
organized. I
Boom.
am the same way. And so like
Yeah.
I just use the search bar, you
Yes.
know, for whatever
Works.
is in it, you
It
know,
works.
whatever. But that amount of email and that amount of it made my heart drop to my butt. You know that feeling
It
where you're
does
like,
everybody. Yep. It
So-
does everybody. So, okay, we had a great topic today. We are going to talk
Yes.
about personal branding.
Yeah.
Super buzzy topic, and now it's past buzz. People say, "What's a really buzzy topic?" It's
Yeah.
not past buzz. It's like a utilitarian topic now.
Mm.
Like you have to buy into the idea that personal branding matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll do maybe a little take on sales and marketing, how you see it as a marketer
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
former salesperson. We miss you, by the way. You're
Oh.
a great salesperson.
Oh, thank
I
you.
got
I
the chance to
appreciate
coach
that.
Margaret as a salesperson. She was awesome. You know why you were awesome? There were a lot of reasons. You know my number one reason?
I would love for you to tell me because I'd love to hear why I'm awesome.
Exactly. The reason Margaret was an awesome salesperson and the reason you're an awesome salesperson is because you don't know the word? It's one word. Starts with a C. Because you are what? Starts with a C.
I don't know. And now if I say something that's not it, I'm going to feel like I'm bragging.
No, you won't.
What
Let's
am
see if
I?
you can get it.
Oh, I'm curious. I'm curious.
Oh, you are curious. That's good. That wasn't why. That you are very curious.
dang it.
It goes along with though. You're very coachable.
Coachable.
Massively
oh, that's so
coachable.
nice.
And if there's one trait that I think the best salespeople have, this doesn't matter what the results are.
That's
I'm
so
talking about the
true.
best ones that are the best, constantly remain coachable.
That's so
Always
true.
open to someone's outside perspective or feedback or learning something.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't have self-confidence. It's the opposite of that. I think they actually have more self-confidence, which makes them coachable.
Yeah, you upped my game in like a big way
did,
too.
yeah.
Like it completely changed the way
was
that
fun.
I sold, which
It
was
was fun.
really cool. So
And this was part of it.
yeah,
Personal branding, wasn't
well, and absolutely. I'll give you kind of the marketing take on
I love it.
which is really more. You know, marketers talk about their brand's brand, right?
Yes.
So like, what are we? Are we approachable? Are we charismatic? Are we? You know, what are we fun? Are we? There's a ton of different things that you could be, right? Pick any adjective whatsoever, but you spend a lot of time and effort coming up with your brand's personality, so to speak. And it influences everything that you do. It influences your website, your logo, your colors, the way that you write, your voice, all that sort of thing. And you're super, super intentional about it. And I don't think it's any different for a personal brand. And so I think that it's just an extension. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way, that your personal brand has to be the same as whatever your business's brand is. Those are two different things. So don't worry about that.
Were you in a sorority in college?
I wasn't. I was GDI.
Do you
Goddamn
do you know?
independent.
Do you know clicking when people do this instead of clapping? They
Oh,
click.
totally.
This was like a sorority thing. I was in a
Yes.
fraternity. We did this too. We called it clicking. But I was going to click for that last.
You
thing
do that
said
at,
there.
at poetry reads as well.
You do?
So this is, yes.
I didn't know. I've never been to a poetry read.
Right. So instead of clapping, you'd be like,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Well, let's go to a poetry read. Do you go to them still? Do they still have those?
I
need to
mean,
go to one of
sometimes I
those.
probably did more in college. I was
Okay.
cooler then, maybe. No, I was not cooler. I take that back, actually, instantly. That's not true. But yes, those things do not have
Yes,
to
that's
be
great.
the
They
same
don't.
at all. But I think you can take the same route in being intentional about thinking about what your brand is, because
Yes.
it is just as important. What's your
I
hot
love
take
that. So
from
I'm going
sales?
to I'm going to stay with the marketing stuff because this
Yeah,
is
oh, cool.
and I do want to ask you a question before we go to the sales stuff.
Sure,
So
sure.
first, I want to validate a couple things. Your brand, your personal brand matter. If you're a sales professional listening to this, which I know a lot of you are, or if you're a marketing professional, see, to me, this also is agnostic for your role.
Both, yeah.
Because we all go to LinkedIn. Yesterday I saw the latest stats, 760 million users on LinkedIn.
Wow.
760 million users. That is a mind-blowing number, and it's growing.
Yep.
That's the front door for personal branding.
Absolutely.
That is the front door for your personal brand. And these days, resume, no, people go to your LinkedIn and they want to see, and what they see and vibe there, everything you do there matters.
Yeah.
Right. Your style of writing, your content, what you do, your picture, your colors,
Your video.
all of it, all your video. Yes. All of it matters. Right. And so I think everyone listening to this has to really take inventory. And I want to pull a word that you said that I think is really important. So if you're listening, listen, write this word down. Intentional. Intentional. It has to be on purpose.
Yep.
You
Yep.
can't just haphazardly start to work on your LinkedIn page or your Instagram page or your co-videos or whatever. You've got to, everything's on purpose. Everything is.
Because no matter what your brand ends up being, it has to be genuine. I mean, your brand could be, kind of an asshole, I guess. I don't know. Some people have that, right? Because they're like, I really know my stuff.
Totally.
I'm, super high D personality. You know, if that feels like you, it feels authentic. That's actually okay. You can embrace some of those things that might not feel quite so like you don't always have to be super like. I'm more of like kind of a lovey-dovey kind of person, I guess. That doesn't have to be your brand. And I get that a lot actually from people. So at CoVideo, we make personalized video messaging software. Plug. Shameless
Good job.
plug.
Well done.
Thank you.
Episode 2. That was really well done. Way to sneak that in there. Episode 2.
Yoink. But people, especially when I was selling, I would show them an example of me making it, or they would see a video from me and they would immediately say, I can't do that. I don't have that level of energy. I'm not peppy. I'm not this or that. And I'm like, that's because it's my personality, my brand. And I'm like, I don't want you to try to recreate it because it would be super awkward and people can sniff that out.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. They can. That word, and we teach, this is one of our core words that we teach, where our core philosophies is called authenticity. It's not called, it's what we stole it, right? We didn't make it up. And you can't lose being authentic. You cannot go wrong.
That's so true.
Now, if you're your authentic self, not everyone's going to vibe with you, and that's okay too,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
You got to be okay with that. It's going to be a little bit of a discernment factor, but you can't lose. You will lose. These are very absolute. You will lose if you try to go inauthentic with your brand.
Yep.
If you try to be, if you're not peppy like Margaret is, and you try to be peppy and you're not, it's going to blow up, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And if you are peppy, if you tried to shelter yourself and
I can't
go
even do it.
you can't even do the face.
No.
You can't even do the face. No, it's true. You can't. It's impossible. Me too. I just can't. I can't put. I can't go script. I can't go teleprompter. Can I read a teleprompter? Yes.
Right. But it feels
I'm
weird.
like, turn it off. Turn it off. It's just not me. I just don't like it.
Here's
Anything
another
about
good
it.
example for you. So like obviously as a marketer now, I help out my team a lot, creating materials. But they'll ask me to write emails for them.
Oh.
And I can coach them and help them or whatever, but they're like, just write it. And I'm like, not going to work.
No.
Because I say stuff that you won't say. I'll use an exclamation point or just, whatever. What was it? I tried to work the word zeitgeist into something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Which, by the way, is super, I shouldn't have done it. But I was like, ooh, I just started... I read it somewhere and I was like, ooh, I love the word zeitgeist. But what is... It does not even belong. It doesn't
PTSD.
belong in an
My
email.
other podcast partner has a very big vocabulary. And this is one of our jokes on our show. Yeah. He uses those words, and he went to DePauw.
Okay,
private school people. And I went to Indiana State School, public school.
Oh,
what does zeitgeist mean?
Okay, so zeitgeist is sort of like the tone or flavor of the time that kind of represents it. So it could be like a song or a movie or a movement that's very representative about what's going on.
Like working from home.
Yes,
like remote
totally.
work or
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha.
Anything or a social distancing.
Purposeful, yes.
Which is like, I realize it has to happen. I still hate it because I love to be personally close. But that would be like a zeitgeisty kind of word of the time.
It's great.
So
a little bit.
Anyway,
listen, authenticity.
Yep. So if I try to write it for somebody, I'm like, no, make it sound like you.
Truth.
Because otherwise it's just not going to work.
Yes.
So.
And I see that. I see salespeople. I see you trying to be like others. Mm-hmm. It's also, I'll tell you this, as someone who does coaching for a living, it's awkward for the person who's coaching you. Mm-hmm. It's awkward for the person to say, oh, you write that email is so good. Will you write mine? Yeah. That's uncomfortable. Like, no, man, I can't.
Ooh, it's
awful,
you can't see
right?
me. I'm like cringing.
Right, you cringe,
I'm like,
right? See, now you won't make a bad face. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question.
Yeah.
Now we're marketing sales. We have this background. So I work with lots of salespeople, like 1,000. And I talk about personal branding all the time. Mm-hmm. And like you'd think, bell curve, there's some that are totally bought in. They could teach class. Some that'll never do it. Lots in the middle. Yep. The ones in the middle, they're going, what do I do? How do I do this? Mm-hmm. One of the things I hear that is a legitimate point of resistance is my marketing team has to approve everything that I do, or they won't let us ...
Yeah.
What is your take? What is your angle on how influential the marketing strategy and department should be to the salespeople's individual personal brands.
My marketers might hate me for this.
They might. That's why we do this.
I would say
edgy podcast radio.
It should have very little impact because there is so much. There's marketing stuff that you're doing, right, with your automated emails, your newsletters,
Yes.
your funnels that you're keeping people engaged through. If you've got that sort of system in place and whatever, they're in charge of all of that, and that has a completely different tone to it, right?
Yes.
But if you are writing a one-to-one personal email that is from that salesperson,
Yes.
it has to come from whatever their vibe, their brand is. So I would say the marketers should have very little to do with that.
I love that. That is a great answer. And not because I'm on the sales side.
I'm going to get hate mail.
Here's my take on it. And so now I'm going to brag on the marketers, but I'm going to brag on you and realize that what I'm bragging you on is part of the problem. So if your brand cannot withstand a rogue salesperson's whatever, you've got a bad brand.
Yeah.
You've got a bad brand. Because that happens. I get it. Rogue salespeople go off and they post something up in social or on LinkedIn, and you, the VP of marketing, Margaret, sitting there going, I can't believe that person just sent that out on co-video letterhead.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You cringe, right?
Right.
Any of that's recoverable to me if your brand is good and strong.
Completely
That
agree.
happens once out of 1,000. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I also say, as the company, if you have someone that you're afraid will misrepresent your brand in the public domain, you have the wrong person working for you.
That's the real
Right?
problem, actually,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If they're doing something, and we all make mistakes, or we're trying to figure out the way to do it. But if it's so detrimental, obviously there's just not a fit there with that person.
Yes.
But,
yes. And that can happen. And we have that. And so I think I love what you said, Margaret, that they should have very little to do with it. Now, they can be a resource because the marketing people that's what they do for a living. So
Yes.
if you're a salesperson, I think a great thing to do is to say, what role can my marketing group, support team, whatever you want to call it, what role can they play in supporting my personal brand development? And I would ask them, my guess is you guys love to do that shit, right?
Love
You're
it.
like, please,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to do a video series on this subject. Could you help me?
Yeah.
You might be absolutely right. And then
Yeah.
you bring Nick in, who's behind the camera guy, and some little pizzazz to it, whatever, help him story arc it, whatever. That's a great thing to do. Most salespeople look at the marketing group as their number one role is to generate leads for me.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It's very selfish, I think.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to defend the marketing people.
Thank you.
If you're a salesperson, your job is to generate your leads, not your marketing department's. Your job, click. I think we have a little show thing, don't we? With clicking. Your job is to generate your own leads. Say it again. Salespeople, your job is to generate your own leads. Any leads you get from marketing is bonus money. It's bonus money.
Yep.
Okay? And if you think that way, your life will be very free. If you sit there thinking, well, marketing's giving me shitty leads. Well, if marketing would just give me some leads, they do these leads, but they're not very good. They're not qualified or blah, blah, blah. You're thinking about selling the whole wrong way because you have the ability to market yourself and your company with all the tools that most are free.
And create a boatload of your own leads, which is stuff, that's something totally different that we'll talk about in other episodes, guys. But yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yes.
And it's, like you said, very freeing when you say, hey, I've got responsibility and ownership over that. And, then you don't have to feel like you're just waiting around with your, I was going to say thumb up your butt. And then I just said thumb up your butt.
I was going to say thumb up my butt, then I changed my mind. Which is another, in our second episode, we'll have this debate on whether we want to go with the explicit rating or not, because we've been down that path with my other podcast. No, it's good. It's who we are, but it's our authentic self.
Exactly.
We're cussers. Yep. We are. No, this is a really, really great point. So if you're a salesperson listening to this, and you want to, this gets into playing nice with marketing too. If you're critical of anyone, you're gonna draw defensive. Who would like me to go to Margaret? Margaret, would you like this if I came and said, "Hey, I'd kind of talk to you. I know you guys have been working on this campaign, this series to generate leads for these webinars. These leads just aren't very good." Margaret's not gonna like that.
It happens all the time.
Totally, it does all the time, right? But it does.
Yeah.
And then Margaret's gonna go, "Well, listen, Yahoo, if you would effing close a couple leads, or maybe if you call them more than once." How about that?
Yeah.
How about you try calling them more than once, and then before you say they're bad leads,
Yeah.
everyone will get along better. So if you're a salesperson listening, do not look at your marketing team as the person or group responsible for your own leads. You are.
Yeah.
Look at them as the person who can coach you on your personal brand that will help you get more of your own leads. And if they give you any, good for them.
Yeah.
Have
And
a
I
party.
want you to know that we care. Like we are
Yes.
desperately trying to do everything that marketing is juggling. I know sales, juggles a lot too,
Yes.
but it's, we're working on the branding and the content and search engine optimization and paid advertising and, all that. And, ultimately trying to generate more leads for you.
Yes.
So like we want that,
Yes.
we're not trying to hold anything back from you. That would make our lives a whole lot easier, but it's tough. So.
I also, tell me about this. So I worked for Procter & Gamble in my career. So if you want to go sales versus marketing, there's no better fight than Procter & Gamble.
Oh, really?
And I was in sales because the crank was turned at P&G with marketing, right?
Okay.
And we were like little sister, little brother, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
So we, defended ourselves and they defended themselves and everybody took credit for the outcome.
Yeah.
So what is your take? And I've always felt this. I always felt, even though I knew where I was, I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't say this now. This is back in the 90s when I was dumber and younger. I say, are you in marketing? I say, no, I work for a living. I'm in sales.
Ooh, burn.
Now that was in the 90s. Okay. Cocky, dumb, before failed business, bankruptcy, everything else, I figured out that I don't know shit. So my question to you is, if I'm a salesperson, what is my best way to think about marketing? Because I have some empathy for you. Here's where I'm going with this. That I'm in direct contact with the result.
Yeah.
In other words, I talk and I get a contract that comes to me. You're distance from the result.
Correct.
I personally think that's uncomfortable.
I agree.
Because you're going and you're hoping that the thing that you start finishes.
Yep.
But I'm the finisher.
Exactly.
So talk me through a marketer's mentality with that, because I feel like
it's super
that can
important.
be tough.
Yeah. So a lot of it starts probably with this is not sexy at all, but like reporting in whatever your CRM is.
Oh my gosh.
So you're looking at it.
Hang on. I'm getting a little sweaty.
I
Did you
know,
say reporting?
doesn't it? Isn't it awful? But we have to do all that gross stuff. I wish we didn't have to. I wish it could just be touchy-feely.
Yeah.
But we have to look at it and say like, hey, where did this lead come from? We look at it through the entire funnel.
Yeah.
When did it stop? Did it close? For how much? Where are we getting the best leads from? So that is all like data driven, but there is so much benefit to the anecdotal part of it, where that's where marketing and sales have to party, where I want to hear what was resonating with people on the call. Like, what was it that you said? What are they missing? What feature or whatever do they wish that they had? Like, what's the tone of the conversation? Because I can look at the numbers and not get that. And that's a missing part. So marketing, I think, has to ask more questions about that. What are you hearing on the front lines? How are people responding to it? And that helps them be like, ooh, it might even open their eyes to maybe new target markets that they're like, oh, you're finding that this is resonating with this type of person.
Yeah.
There might be something there that we're not exploring.
Really good.
So
really, really good. And remember that the kind of the wrap for me on this topic is, what never gets talked about between the relationship of marketing and selling? Or who?
Tell me.
The customer.
Yeah.
Customer never gets talked about. So let's not, that we both want the same thing.
Yep.
Right? Margaret, as the director or VP of marketing, you want as many customers converting to co-video as possible.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Me as the salesperson at co-video, I want as many of those people to close. We want the same thing.
Yeah. Same goal.
So this is not about rowing against each other and contentious. This should be about working together. To me, it's about figuring out how. Yeah. So my little to-do for the sales team, you take ownership of your own leads.
Yep.
So if you're driving around today or listening, when you get settled, you write down, I'm responsible for my own leads. Use that as a mantra. I'm responsible for my own leads.
And I've got one for marketing.
Please, let's do it.
I would say create a space for dialogue with sales.
That's good.
Ask the questions, and they will embrace you so much more because they have a lot of opinions.
They do.
And they know a lot. Like, they are on the front lines. They can give you so much valuable data that, focus groups and all that can kind of help with. But like, start first with your best resource, which is coming through your salespeople.
Yes.
So talk to them. Also,
ask, don't tell. Wow.
We got kind of, well, this is all related to it, but personal brand.
Yeah.
I would say if you're trying to come up with a personal brand, if you want a formula for it, you could look up what a company's brand guidelines is.
Ooh.
And this is actually something that we're going through right now.
Ooh.
We are doing a branding boot camp at Co-Video
Oh.
to get really dialed in on it.
That's
and I
fun.
just love boot camp in general. That makes me happy.
Sounds
and
very aggressive.
we
Very
whiteboard
masculine,
and get in
right.
a room and throw all our ideas together. But anyway, you could do the same thing. Now it's going to be very intense. There's lots of questions that probably won't pertain to you. But if you're like, I don't even know where to start to think about my own personal brand, that might give you a little bit of a formula, so to speak, or good questions to ask yourself.
I love it. What do I Google? I Google brand guide or something like
Yeah,
that?
brand guidelines.
Brand guidelines.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
yep.
a great idea. As a salesperson, because you come up with your own, you can see probably a template for what goes into a brand guideline and think about what does that mean for me. That's a
Exactly.
great idea. Okay, that's it. Episode 2 in the books.
Love it.
Selling Unscripted? Sales. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell we're calling it.
Yeah, what are we called?
It's Sales Unscripted. It's
Sales
Sales
Unscripted.
Unscripted.
See,
You
this
just
is
thought of it.
again, this is how unscripted we are. We're gonna keep hammering that
I'm going
home.
to keep the title. That's it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.